This video is for Algebra 2 NTI Days 31 through 32. And these two NTI days are talking about end behavior of a polynomial. So that basically means, like, what is the shape of the polynomial? So when we're talking about end behavior, we're just looking at, obviously, the ends. So you read a graph the same way that you read a book, from the left to the right. So when we talk about the end behavior, we're going to do it the same way. We're going to look at the direction on the left end and then the direction on the right end. The only thing that you need to look at when you're trying to figure out the end behavior is the leading term. So that very first term, it should be the one with the biggest exponent. So in this polynomial here, all right, so I just made up some random polynomial, negative 4x cubed plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 1. The only thing that I need to look at is that first term, that leading term. I'm going to check my coefficient and see if it's positive or negative. And this one is the negative. It's a negative 4. And I'm going to check the degree. I check that exponent, which is 3. I'm checking to see, is it even or odd? And it's odd. And so that is all I have to look at to get the end behavior. I also have for you on the on your NTI paper this chart here. So I'm just going to show you how to do that, looking at the one that we just used. So it had a negative coefficient and an odd degree. So I'm going to come over here. I'm looking for negative coefficient and odd degree. So where they meet is going to tell me my end behavior. So that is up, down. So on the left side, the arrow is pointing up, and then on the right side, the arrow is pointing down. That's why it's called up, down. All right, let's look at, let's go ahead and look at this example number 1, and then I'll just kind of pull up 2 more. So first term is already circled for you. It says positive coefficient. So I'm looking up here. And then the degree is 5, which is an odd number. So positive and odd, that end behavior would be down, up. So on the left side, it's pointing down. And you look at the way the arrow is pointing, not the way that you would follow the line. So the arrow pointing down, and then on the right side, the arrow is pointing up. Let me make up another one here for us. Let's say 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. So looking at my first term, my coefficient is positive and my exponent is even. So I'm going to go back to this. Positive coefficient, even exponent, even degree, up, up. And we know that this right here is a quadratic, so we know it's going to make that U-shaped graph anyway. Oh, that's pretty ugly, but we know it's going to make that U-shaped graph, and both of those arrows would be pointing up. So that's why it's called up, up. And then let's see, negative 5x to the 4th plus 7x squared minus 3. So looking at my first term, I have a negative coefficient, an even exponent. So I'm going to go back to my chart. Negative coefficient, even exponent. It's called down, down. So both of the arrows will be pointing down on the left and on the right side. So that's all you need to look at when you are going through and doing these examples here. Looking at that first term, you come back up here and look in your chart and figure out which one of these end behaviors would be appropriate for that polynomial. And then the same thing here on day 32, and then there's just a condensed chart at the top of that paper telling you the same thing.